Hello racers, welcome to today's video. Today's video is the third episode of Maritime Onroad Season 3. And in today's episode, we are not going to really focus on parts and things for the car. We're going to focus on tuning the car from last week. So, last week in the race, one thing that we noticed is that a lot of cars had problem finishing. So the only parts I'm going to install this week are some new ball ends. People were having problems, including me, with these little ball cups popping off. One week I had one actually break. You can see it broken there. So we're going to replace those, have some spares available, and be ready in case something pops off. We'll just, instead of trying to fix it on trackside, we'll just plug it in. But for tuning, what I want to do is, after analyzing last week's video, I want to get more steering in initial corner entry. So what I've done is I've hit the books. I've gone through the Essential Off-Road Racer's Guide. This is a book that I've done a review on. I encourage you to go look that up. And I've also dug through a book called Invisible Speed version 2. And in Invisible Speed, I'll just show you the changes that I would like to make. And it's on this little chart here. In this chart, you can see he's drawn a picture of a corner, and you can envision going around this corner. So for corner entry, what I noticed is my car would, rather than initially turning in, it would kind of scoot past the corner and then turn in. Go past and then turn in. So what I think was happening is, as I was turning the wheel, the car was rolling, pitching to the front, and while it's rolling, it doesn't give much grip. You can see that in the book it says low roll center, smooth entry, can be imprecise. The term they use is roll center. You can think of it as roll resistance. Right now my car would be set up as a low roll center in the front end, and we can check that out. If I switch to high roll center, I'm going to get more aggressive corner entry. I'll have it more steering in the beginning of the corner. Roll center in the mid, if it's high, you get your rotation by losing grip. Because the car hasn't rolled, the car will kind of slide across the top. It's not like rolled and putting pressure on tires. Low roll center, you get rotation by roll. Safer feeling mid-corner. I think the front of my car is low roll. That's how I'm getting, goes into the corner. While it's rolling, it's not precise going into the corner. And then by the time it gets grip out here, then gives you this little hooky type of, or you blow the corner, people will say. So I was doing that a lot. I'm going to give myself a bit more corner entry. Roll center on high on corner exit. Good grip, stable, precise. Low roll center, low grip, can fishtail, imprecise. So we want to increase the roll center or roll resistance on the front of the Mini B. Now I took the wheels off just so we can talk about it a bit. In this, I don't really want to make changes to the rear because I don't want to remove any grip. Rear grip is very hard to get, so I don't want to remove that. That's my second choice. So what can we do to the front of the car to increase roll center? There's a couple things, mainly to do with this upper link. The links and the arms control your roll center, where they're positioned. If you could raise this pivot point here up higher, that would raise the roll center, raise the roll resistance. The car wouldn't roll as much. So if you can't raise this, then what you could do is lower the link. Now these links, you can see I put a little shim on this side and a little shim on that side. And what I did early in the race series is I raised this link up, and I raised it equal amounts on both sides. If you raise your link up, that'll lower the roll center, your car will roll more. If you lower by the same amount on both sides, that'll raise the roll center. Your car will roll less. So you can see that that's a simple adjustment that I can do, is to just lower that link. Another thing that you can do for roll center is put an angle on that link. So if I lower both, take the shims out basically, and I move this shim to there, it'll put an angle on that link. And what that'll do is raise the roll resistance. It won't roll as much. And when you put an angle on, you'll also get the idea of camber gain, where this tire, let's see if I can kind of simulate it with my hand here. This tire will kind of bend like that. See? If the links are even with the link underneath, like parallel, the tire will go straight up and down. If the link is on an angle, you get this idea that the tire will camber in. And you can see that on this side, it does it not much. See? As I push that. But when I make this adjustment, the tire will lean in. Other things I can do for front initial grip is I can move these shocks more upright, and I can move these shocks further out on the arm. Now, upright and out kind of gives you a bit more stiffer spring action, and that will put more pressure on the tire rather than the suspension soak it up. So as the car is rolling, the spring will be able to put more pressure on the tire and drive that into the surface with a more upright. If you lay this down, what that'll do is it'll have initial softness, it'll roll more, which I don't want, and then it'll progressively get stiffer. So I don't want it to roll more, so I'm going to stand it up and move it out, and which you can see, that's what I've been doing throughout this race series. Other things I could have done, but this car doesn't have the adjustment, is this little axle. The lower you can lower this axle to this hinge pin here on the arm, or lower the axle to the arm, you'll have more initial grip, more side bite. But you can't adjust that on this car. And one thing I'm going to keep up my sleeve that I'm not going to tell is I might put a shim in between the wheel and the hex, maybe a millimeter shim, if there's enough meat in these rims to take that. What that'll do is it'll give a little better corner entry, and it'll cause the rear end to be a little bit drifty in the corner. It'll actually loosen it up in the corner. So I'll keep that one under my hat. I think I have some plastic shims I'll sand down to about a millimeter. And those are the changes I'm going to make. Update the tie rods. Make sure they don't pop off. We saw that in the last video. So many people with tie rods popping off. And I'm just going to move this shim to there and raise the roll center and keep it from rolling as much. So let me do those adjustments and let's see how this does on the track. Oh, and also, I was talking to one of my fellow racers, and we were seeing, should I add some parts to the car or what should we do? He said that what I should do, what I should focus on, is traction compound. What I was doing is I was putting traction compound across the entire width of the tire, and what that'll do is make this really grippy. So he said, go easy on the compound, maybe only do half the tire. You always start from the inside, just do half the tire, so maybe you'll get like half the grip out of it, and maybe that'll help the car rotate. And in the front, starting on the inside, maybe do half a tire in the front, not a full tire. Putting sauce on the front is super dangerous, so maybe just work your way up to about half. So I'm going to try to tune the car with the grippiness of the tires using traction compound and adjusting the roll center. So it should give more initial bite, but then mid-corner would have less, as we saw in the book. With that said, let's try it on the track. So here we are, lining up for the Mini B final. You can see that this week I've qualified fourth, so I'm the fourth car from the left in the bright yellow on the straight. Qualifying was tough this week. Q1, quite a few crashes, probably only got into sixth position. Qualifying 2, one crash, but it did damage the car a little, but managed to get into fifth. And a fairly clean Q3 put me into fourth overall. So what my race thought is at the start of this race is just to keep with the main group. So you can see going through the infield now, a little bit of a tangle there. But you can see a car bobbled in the middle. So that would put me, as I go under the bridge, into third place overall. With the pack of cars, the running of the bulls right behind me, you can see there's quite a few cars chasing. Going through the infield, you notice the car is working quite a bit better this week with the higher roll center change. You can see now going through the infield, the green car is caught up right behind me. And my thought was to see if I could get some space, but no space, so there's not much sense in fighting. Let them by and don't put up much resistance there. No sense fighting for 5.5 minutes for a race. Just let them go through and see if we can stick with them and see where we can come out in the end. So the cars are getting quite spaced now. Mine's coming onto the straight, down and under the bridge, through the infield, bottom right. A couple of the places that my car is not handling well is the bottom right. For whatever reason, I'm taking quite a big corner there. Could be where I'm standing. I stand far left on the stand, so maybe it's just my perspective. And the other place my car is not handling well is coming onto the straight. See, coming on, it almost gets like a turbo boost. Just watch it again as we come up to it, around the bottom right, coming onto the straight, and there it goes again. What was happening is it was diving on the front and picking up the left rear tire, and until it set the tire back down, I lost all forward momentum. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and maybe make adjustments for next race day. So here we are. The race has kind of settled down. We don't see a lot of activity. Still running fourth place, not making many gains at all. Trying to keep up with the pack ahead. So here we are through the infield, bottom right. You see that I've flipped over on the right side, just unforced error, tapped the corner and rolled. We can see in the middle of the track there's a car being worked on. He had a very slight crash and seemed to damage the car. And with his car being retired, I would have bumped up to third place because of a retirement. So it's not a good way to get an extra position, but let's see if we can actually work a bit more on the race. See if we can make some progress here. See right behind me, there's the orange and white car. He was the TQ from last race, so we know that he's a quick racer as well. He's seems to be putting some pressure on, but still content to keep behind. Our pace is fairly equal at this stage in the race. You can see some wide sweeping corners out of my car. Still, handling is not perfect, but it is much better than it was from previous races. I don't think we have the same level of push that I was complaining about before. Now we've had another retirement. There's only 4 cars on the track now. The racer that had the white and red car, he had a bit of a bobble and needed a tie rod replaced, and he felt that he would retire from the race. He didn't continue. So at this point, I've bumped up to second through attritions. So let's follow my car as I come under the bridge. So under the bridge, I'm in second place. The orange and white is third, and the white car closely behind is fourth. And they're all looking for my second place spot. Top right onto the straight, under the bridge, through the infield. Now the infield seemed to go quite well, but that bottom right corner and going onto the straight, I lose a lot of time. So you can see I gain a bit, but then I lose several feet through that chicane area. And you can see that the cars are gaining on me. Now, a bit of a bobble in driving, trying to clean it up through that chicane. Cars are following close. We're getting to the very late stages of the race. The orange car is trying to get that precious second place position from me. The race is closing up. Probably only 2 laps remaining at this stage. Oh, took a wide corner at the worst possible time. Race for the finish. Here we are. Respect given, back and forth a bit through the midfield. Still trying to continue. The pressure is mounting. You see that here we are, probably the last lap of the race, getting very, very close. Holding them off. Here we are coming down for the line. Cross right there. And I think that is the end of the race. We're now just on cool down laps. The race is over and managed to secure second place this week. Green car, he took off and he was nowhere to be found. So congrats to him. So if you like this type of thing, click like and click subscribe to see more action. See you next video.